Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's not that far, Massachusetts, hour and a half. So I plan on moving here, making New Hampshire my home. I plan on dying here. About 20 years in Connecticut where I grew up, and then about 40 years here. So I know time is short. Let me get to a few things. Before I speak about what I wanted to speak about, let me address the epidemiological aspect that was given testimony a few minutes ago. So when somebody says no vaxes aren't human trialed, okay. Some were trialed on the most healthy people, and there were a few people. What he's not telling you is, were they trialed on babies? How do we know they're safe for babies? Were they trialed on pregnant women? Were they trialed on people with clotting disorders, Alzheimer's, dementia? I'm going to get into some data that will tell you some numbers on those in Massachusetts. Also, flu and COVID differences. He said, oh, there's no differences between the trials. Well, then what is EUA for? Emergency use authorization. Why did it skip all the trials? So there are differences. So there's a disingenuous testimony that was given prior to me. I think you should consider. Okay, so I'm a systems engineer. Made my career in putting large contracts together. So I understand various systems, not just engineering. So I have an MBA also. I put together the MK6LE, that's the Mark 6 guidance control system for the Polaris nuclear missile. It's about $1 billion that came from that deal. I was told not to do it. I did it anyway. And they pulled together Raytheon, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Honeywell, and the prime contractor with whom I negotiated, Draper Laboratory in Cambridge, Mass. The reason why I can understand the statistical methods that are used is because I used to use it against people in winning contracts. And the methods that are being used to tell you that these are safe and effective are, well, I was born in Hartford, so let me just quote somebody from Hartford, or at least his house is there, Samuel Clemens. There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. And they're fooling everybody with all these. Not everybody, they won't fool me. So here's some real data that I got from Massachusetts. I have 1 million unredacted death certificates, about 500,000 from Massachusetts, 420,000 from Minnesota, and the balance comes from Vermont. I'll just talk about Massachusetts for a minute. As far as safe and effective goes, I traverse the hierarchy of data and evidence from the individual case, that's a single death certificate, all the way up through all cause, which is the highest level of hierarchy. So all cause deaths, yes, they were up quite a bit in Massachusetts in 2020, but they were also up in 21 and 22. All of a sudden, the causes of death that were causing the excess death shifted from a respiratory seasonal virus. So you have pneumonia deaths, ARDS, COPD, they were up in 2020. Well, what happened on a year boundary when the vaccines were introduced? Everything shifted to blood and circulatory. Blood and circulatory deaths all of a sudden started going up. They didn't go up when COVID was around in 2020. They all of a sudden started going up in 2021. Acute post-hemorrhagic anemia, thrombocytopenia, cardiac arrhythmia, cardiac arrest, pulmonary embolism. And I can tell you about the individual cases. Cassidy Baraka from Groton, Massachusetts, was injected in January 13. There's a report written about her. She reacted in 5 minutes, vomited for 8 to 10 hours. Cassidy died on January 18, 4.5 days later. You know what it says on her death certificate from Massachusetts? Complications of coronavirus 19 viral infection, with no mention of the vaccine. Those are multiple federal felonies that the medical examiner, Stephen Schwartz, committed on her death certificate. A couple days ago, it was referred to the Attorney General of Massachusetts for criminal investigation. That's just one. Breonna McCarthy. Oh, Groton is right on the border of New Hampshire, by the way. So is Methuen. Breonna McCarthy. She reacted in hours with a headache. She went to the ER. They said, go home. You have a headache. She was so bad, she went to the ER again. They said, here's some Tylenol, go home. She didn't recognize her sister. So her family brought her in. She had intracranial pressure. They cut a hole in her head, did a craniotomy. That didn't work because the clots were all through her head. They kept her on life support for a while after she had had a seizure, paralyzed in half her body. And it's about 2.5 weeks before she died. And that was she was injected on March 30, 2021. And she died on, I think, April 15. This is the official date of death, but she was brain dead in a few days. I just talked to her father a few days ago. So you would think a stroke like that killed her would be rare. In fact, it says it in the summary that 6 doctors from the Harvard Medical College, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center wrote about her. That's in the Neurohospitalist Journal. The title of which is Fatal Post-COVID mRNA Vaccine-Associated Cerebral Ischemia. Translated to English means the vaccine killed her by stroke. Every paragraph in that report says the vaccine killed her by stroke. In fact, it says where thrombocytopenia is frequent. But in order to get published in a peer-reviewed journal, because the journals are all captured by pharma, you have to write in the conclusion that's extremely rare. They also wrote there are several reports of several vaccines, COVID vaccines, causing these clots. 2 weeks before Brianna was injected, Diane Dubois, 62 years old, died of acute intracranial pressure in the setting of thrombocytopenia. It says it in her death certificate, but it's not coded by the CDC. Because the CDC, they have a software called Transaction Acme. It automatically reads the death certificate, the English words, and converts it into codes. And the codes, they're international cause of death codes, ICD-10 codes. Those codes are the only way that the public knows what's going on, because that's how you track data. Nobody's reading all the words that are in the death certificates. Solomon Kizito died at 62 years old in Massachusetts on January 16, 2021. Idiopathic bronchopneumonia in the setting of thrombocytopenia in a person vaccinated recently. So it says it, and it's coded. Y59.0 viral vaccines, T88.1, other complications from immunization elsewhere not classified. The CDC, however, says that nobody died from the vaccine. We don't have any reports. Yeah, because they turned off the software after that. And the next 8 from Massachusetts that say, I'll look over here because you guys are engaged with me. Thank you. So the others are, let's see, reacted to the vaccine in 5 minutes, didn't make it out of the clinic, dropped dead from cardiac arrest. That was not coded by the CDC. This is felony federal fraud omission. And there's a number of 18 U.S.C. 1343, 241, 242, 1035, 1040, I could go on. It's also murder, because what I should tell you guys, you all probably already know this, as officers of the courts in New Hampshire, you have a legal duty to act on information and belief that the public is in danger. And knowing of this fraud, and I do have a document called the CDC Memorandum, it'll be published once I redact the names from certain names from Minnesota. The other names will be in there. You can have the official copy without name redactions. It'll be served to the directors of the CDC, FDA, NIH, 12 of their underlings, 6 state attorneys general, and perhaps Mr. Formella would like it too. I'll be happy to drop it off. I met with him. Representative Polosov and Gerhard brought me in. I spoke with Attorney General Formella for 45 minutes. It was supposed to be a half-an-hour meeting. They extended the meeting. It went pretty well. They understood. This was March of last year. I showed him the likely deaths of New Hampshire residents who died in Massachusetts hospitals. I have all their records, first names, middle names, last names, parents' names. When somebody from the state says this is safe and effective, oh no, he didn't say that. He danced around the question, I forgot. He wouldn't answer your direct question with a yes or no.
Please don't refer to other people's testimony, just yours.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. So this bill, 319, is a good step forward. It's very important because drugs should be tested before they're given. I'm deaf in one ear. I have been since I was 4 years old. They gave me a shot of streptomycin and penicillin mixed together for the Hong Kong flu. I didn't have the flu. They wanted to make money on a shot. So they gave me a prophylactic of antibiotics without me having anything. And they found in 1968, you cannot mix streptomycin and penicillin. It makes small kids go deaf. So thousands of kids went deaf. I'm lucky I have one ear since I was 4. Now, I mean, who cares about me? I'm 59. I'm running to the end, right? But we got kids getting injected. I told you about Cassidy. Brianna was 30. Oh, by the way, on Brianna's death certificate, it doesn't say the vaccine killed her. It said COVID killed her. They lied again. It's double fraud. Fraud by omission, fraud of commission. So you have to ask yourselves, are you here to support the people or the pharma companies? And do you have a legal duty to act for the safety of the people of New Hampshire? And that's what this bill does. It acts for the safety of the people of New Hampshire. Now, I know I only have a few minutes. I'm probably running to the end of your patience with me. I do appreciate your time. Nobody in the world has the data that I've compiled. Kevin McKernan is Chief Science Officer at Medicinal Genomics, also ran the Human Genome Project at MIT. He gave testimony at the World Council for Health. He said there's one guy in the world who has the data to show this, and that's me. Secondary malignant neoplasm of the lymph nodes, ICD-10 code C77.9. It's up 400% of normal in 2023 in Massachusetts. You've heard of the term turbo cancers probably being caused by these vaccines. You may not know the reasons. There's a theory behind that. The SV40 promoter, that's been found by and verified by 10 labs internationally. The simian virus, it's a plasmid. It's a piece of protein that was found. It's not supposed to be in there. It's contamination. They're shipping contaminated products and injecting people en masse. And it could likely cause cancers and other things. I mean, I can tell you the whole blood system is dysregulated from hematopoietic cells, which lead to the creation of every type of, thrombus. I'll try to use regular words. Platelets, red cells, white cells. Okay, it's the basis for all of them. When you get a dysregulation at that level, that's why you're seeing so many different systemic problems in the body where people say, well, it can't be from the vaccine. There's so many different things. No, it's really just one or two things, but it manifests in other things because the blood goes everywhere in your body. So I have to end at some point. This bill is actually the first step, and it's great. But if anybody wants to talk to me after, I'm willing to talk at all times. And I have talked for 4 hours straight. If you type my name into the Rumble search bar, 70 videos will come up. I've been interviewed on podcasts around the world. I've presented to doctors and scientists around the world, thousands of them, and no one has refuted my findings and data because it's just truth. I don't do statistics. They're not statistics. You know, Ian was in Bellingham, 11 years old. He got the vaccine, got a booster. This was November of last year. No, the year before, sorry. 21? 2? I'm getting confused. 22. Anyway, he died on December 3rd. The family donated his heart. They pulled it out. They couldn't use it. It was full of clots. To not care about an 11-year-old child and to listen to testimony like that and just not pay attention, it kind of blows my mind that people can do that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And any questions?
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We only have 2 speakers left.